it's kind of crazy to think that the seeds that we're planting tonight, together, are the ones we're going to be harvesting this year and preserving up. Hey friends, welcome back to Acre Homestead. My name is Becky, if you are new, and today we are starting seeds, which is pretty incredible. I probably should have done this a couple weeks ago, but my motto these last few weeks has been better today than tomorrow. So we're getting it done today, and it's better that we're getting it done today and not tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get these seed starting mats into our trays. I've gone through and kind of gone through my seeds and pulled out seeds that I've decided I am gonna do and seeds that I'm not gonna do. I have way too many varieties of things and not as much space to plant every single variety that I have. So what I've done is I've culled a bunch of stuff. So today what we're gonna be planting are our tomatoes, our peppers, our cabbage, celery, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and just get things started. There's probably a few more things that we're gonna be starting, but that's what I can think of today. So I have these 72-inch cell trays that I'm putting in these thick bottomed trays. Oh, we're starting our onions today too. That reminds me, because I invested my first year in these heavy bottom trays. This is going on my third year. Perfect, no problems with them at all. But I do have these cheaper ones that I bought the same year, and they already have a ton of holes. They're breaking. So I wouldn't recommend these at all, but I am going to find a use for them today. So I'll show you what that use is when we get to it. So let me just take a minute, get all these in their trays, and then I need to sit through and plan what I'm going to be planting in which one and get myself organized. I'm going to put my seeds that I'm not using back away where they go in my seed organizer. This is very tempting to me just to stick my seeds in here and walk away, but I am going to put them away where they go. What was the point of organizing them and getting them super beautiful in this container if I do not put them back where they go? The cool thing about the seed organizer is that if I put them away where they go, things like tomatoes and peppers and onions that we're going to be planting today, we're only going to be planting those once, and so these seeds are going to be organized until next year. I have it figured out, I believe. I'm sure I'll change it as we go, but let me show you how I've kind of in my brain organized this to make this make a little bit more sense to me. On this tray, we are going to plant all of our hot peppers. Our slicing tomatoes are going to be on this tray. Our Roma tomatoes are going to be here with our tomatillos and ground cherries and our sweet peppers. This tray is going to be cold hardy things. So we have our cauliflower, celery, all of our different types of cabbage. Right up here we have our broccoli rabe and our types of kale. I'm going to leave these open for probably some herbs or something, because these trays down here are going to be for our flowers and our herbs, but that I'm going to do in a different video. Our seed container that is working perfectly for me, I got it all back organized in there. And then over here we have our onions. So what I did is I did red, white, because even when they sprout you can tell the difference. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to use these trays that have holes in them, and we're going to sew them in here, and I think it's going to work a lot better than what I did last year. And over here we have leeks, shallots, leeks. I did the same thing. I wanted to put the shallots in the middle because they're going to be red, so I'll be able to tell the difference. I am going to put dividers, but just to make it a little bit easier on myself, that's why I've decided to do it that way. I do want to put a disclaimer in this video. I am not an expert gardener. If you are new, this is only my third year gardening. My first year, I made so many mistakes. I probably killed 80% of this, oh, more than that. I probably killed 90% of the seeds that I started, and last year I probably killed about 60% of the seeds I started. So I'm hoping that that average of improvement can happen this year. But we are going to have fun together. We're going to do this together. I am going to show you how successful this is, and I'm going to show you the failures that I have, because I probably will have both, and we can learn together from what we've done. So now that I've decided on the varieties that we're going to be planting, what I need to do now is I need to prep my seed starting mix. The seed starting mix that I'm using is Pro Mix Fungicide Myo something or another. I was reading last year that this was good stuff, and I bought 2 of these, and I didn't even use this one, so that's why I'm using it again this year. Maybe one of these years I will get into making my own seed starting mix. I think that would be super fun. You know me, I love to do things from scratch and buy my, homemade. But I have this and I'm not gonna let it go to waste. This is not the cheapest stuff. If you buy it in this big bag, it was a lot cheaper. Those little bags of seed starting mix at the store are really expensive. If you were to price it out, like pound per pound or cubic yard, this is 3.8 cubic feet. And I think I spent $60 or I don't even think it was that much. I think it was $60 for 2. It might be up in price now, I don't know. But I bought it online and I can link it down in the description box. I have here a big tote. This is just one that I had laying around. I'm gonna go ahead and put my seed starting mix in here so that I can get this mixture wet and I can fill my trays in this tub. I do all this in my kitchen. I don't have a greenhouse or anything outside, anywhere to do this outside. So I found that this is the easiest way to try to keep it as mess-free as possible. This stuff is super, super compacted, and so it does expand a ton when you start putting it out of the bag. But I only want to try to get out kind of what I think I'm going to use today. Okay, we'll start with that because it's going to get heavy when I put the water in it. I'm going to just break it up a little bit. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and fill this up with a bunch of water. I'll show you what consistency we're going for. But this is going to take quite a bit of water. If you fill your seed start trays before you moisten this, and you plant your seeds, when you go to moisten your trays, this takes so much water, it doesn't really want to absorb it really quickly. It's kind of weird. And so the water tends to sit on top of your seed tray, and then your seeds start floating all around and it becomes a mess, and you don't know how much soil you actually have, or seed start mix you actually have in your trays. It just gets really, really messy and confusing. So this is definitely the way to go. Seems appropriate that we are starting our seeds in the kitchen, I guess, because this is where they're eventually going to end up, right? That's still not enough water. This is the consistency you want. You want when you squeeze it, it holds its shape, but when you squeeze it, it doesn't have a ton of water dripping out of it. So we're going to start with our onion trays because I need to fix these. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to save them so that they don't go to waste, even though they have holes in them. So these trays are only 2 years old. I think they were probably $10 cheaper than the other trays, and they already have holes in them. There's holes in the corners of all of these. Just the top 2, I should say. The top 2 have holes in them. So I'm going to turn these into my onion trays, and I'm going to poke more holes in them. That doesn't work. And this is going to allow drainage because I'm going to sprinkle my onion seeds on the top of these. And I'm going to use my other flimsy one that doesn't have hole. Oh, that does have a hole in it. Shoot. That has a hole in the corner too, so I can't. This one has a hole. Oh, all 4 of them have holes. Okay, well I have to use my nice ones. I don't know if you can tell the difference. This is the nice one, and these are going very strong. These will last me years and years and years, I think, as opposed to these flimsy ones. So I'm going to poke more holes in just 2 of these trays, and we'll get the onions planted first. The reason it's so important that my seed trays don't have holes in them is because I do bottom watering. I'll show you as the season goes on what I mean by that, but I pour my water into the tray and allow the seed cells to absorb the water through the bottom. And if there's holes in them, then that water is just going to drain right out. And so it's really, really important that my seed trays don't have holes in them. I'm going to fill it like this. I'm not gonna fill it all the way because I'm gonna come back after sowing the seeds and I'll put a little bit more on there. But I'm trying to make it even. I think while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and get all the trays filled so I'm not going back and forth from sowing seeds to filling trays to sowing seeds to filling trays. So let me get that done and then we'll put our first seeds in the ground. So some people say you need to sterilize your seed starting trays before you reuse them again. And some people say you don't need to. A lot of people say you only need to do that if you've had fungal or mold issues. And I haven't really had either of those. I did have algae issues, and I am gonna show you what I'm gonna do this year to try to prevent that. But I'm not really, it would take me so long to go through the effort of sterilizing them. So since I trust the people that say you don't have to, I'm gonna go with that. Can you tell me in the comment section if you guys have started your seeds yet? I feel like I'm behind on this. I see people on Instagram and things starting their seeds, but last year I started everything way too early, and that was part of my problem, was I was trying to keep seedlings alive indoors way longer than I should, and so they didn't go out to the garden very healthy. And because I started them so early and I was like itching to get them out into the garden, I planted them out too early. Technically, I planted them like the day after my last frost date. And when I looked at the weather, there wasn't supposed to be any frost, but there was frost that night, and I killed all my tomato plants and pepper plants that I had been babying inside for months. So I'm kind of okay that I'm starting a little bit later this year, but I hope I'm not starting too late. Only time will tell. They are all filled. Now we get to start putting some seeds in the ground. Because I had to use 2 of my nice trays for my onions, I am now out of the nice trays. Oh no, that's not true. I have 2 left. And that's not gonna be enough to get me through, let's see. Oh no, I have 3 left. And that's probably not gonna be enough to get me through all the herbs and flowers we're gonna be starting, because boy, are we starting a lot of flowers this year. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go this evening and order some more of those trays on Amazon. We have our onion trays. We are starting 2 different varieties of leeks and 1 variety of shallots. So that's the first thing we're gonna do right here. Let me look and see how many seeds are in each of these packs. So we have 100, 200, and 150. I have 3 sections. This one's a little bit smaller, this one's a little bit bigger, and this one's even bigger. The one that has the 100 seeds, we're gonna start in this littler one, and this is the King Richard leek. I got this leek from Seeds for Generations. I can link the seed stores where I bought my seeds from. All I'm gonna do is try to evenly sprinkle these seeds along this section of soil / dirt. First seeds of 2022 have been planted. I don't know about you, but that is a huge success and a huge win. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is we are gonna plant the American flag leek, and this is from M.I. Gardner. It says there's 200 approximate seeds in this packet. The next thing we are gonna plant are these shallots. I've never grown shallots before, so this is gonna be a brand new thing for me, and these are called Zebrune shallots. And it says there's approximately 150 seeds in this one. So that is that. We're not quite done with that yet. Oh my goodness. Friends, I'm already failing at one of my biggest goals for 2022, and that is to label. Label, label, label. Thankfully, I know where everything goes. I talked about this being a goal last year of mine, and I'm going to now label what variety they are, and what day I planted them. So today is February 20-something, 22nd of 22. It's February 22nd of 2022. Awesome. That goes there. You may be asking yourself, why are you planting so many onions? And that is because I'm planting probably 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, probably 1,000 onions. That's because oh, these are coated in something. These are the red carpet hybrid F1s. Because last year I planted a ton of onions and a bunch of them did not work out. So I'm trying to do a little overkill and hopefully some of them work out. I'm trying to experiment with different varieties to see what works the best. And that's why. Oh, I guess not that many of technically onions because those are leeks and shallots, but in the onion family. I ended up with 3 trays of onions because my Johnny seeds had a lot more onions in them and I didn't think that 1/3 of the tray was going to be quite enough. What I'm going to do to finish off these onions before I put them in my grow station is I am going to wet the top a little bit. Those seeds and the potting mix that was dry. So just a light sprinkle over the top, not too much. Just want to make sure those seeds get hydrated so that they can sprout. Our first tray is done. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the rest of them, and then we're going to get our peppers and onions planted. Before I even put seeds in my container, I'm going to go ahead and make labels for my hot peppers. That's what we're going to do next. The hot peppers that we're going to do this year, I had to go through and I cut a ton of them out. I wish I could grow every variety. I don't have the space for that. So we're going to do the Cipollini peppers. We're going to do Big Jim, Craig's Grande Jalapeno, Sugar Rush Peach. These were a gift in my P.O. box, and on the note it said that these were her favorite peppers to make salsa with. So I think, because they're this beautiful orange color, I want to make peach hot sauce with them. And it says they're hot. It says the description of the Sugar Rush Peach Pepper, exciting new heirloom bred by hot pepper prodigy Chris Flower of Wales. Long peach colored fruits are packed with loads of super sweet tropical flavors, and seeds bring a smoky, complex heat. So don't you think that sounds like it would pair really, really well with peach hot sauce? I've never made peach hot sauce, but I want to make it this year. We're gonna do Baron F1. This is a hybrid pepper that is a poblano pepper. And in the description, it says it's the earliest to market pepper. It is a hybrid from Johnny Seeds. So that is why I chose this one. I have a couple other poblano peppers in my stash, but I want to try to get one that's going to produce a pepper faster. We're going to do an orange spice jalapeno. This is a jalapeno that turns orange. I got this from Territorial Seeds. We're going to do Chinese 5-color pepper. I grew these for the first time 2 years ago in my first garden, and these were the only peppers that produced anything for me, but I killed them last year when I planted out my peppers. And you can't buy these at a big box store. That is one amazing thing about starting your own seeds, is you can choose the varieties, but if you kill them, then you have to wait till next year. So that's why we're going to plant these again. We're going to do a Tabasco pepper. Same thing happened with this last year, my first year. My seedlings died inside before I got them outside. Last year I planted them out and they died in the frost. We're going to do a cayenne hybrid pepper for hot sauce. And these were another gift to me in my P.O. box. It says pepperoncini, and the seed packet is not in English at all. So we're going to plant those, and I'm excited to do that. Now, these are not the only peppers we're going to be growing this year. I have, I think, 4 different peppers that are going to be in the container garden series that we're doing together. So we are growing a ton of different kinds of peppers. I'm going to go ahead and put these right in here before I plant anything so that we don't have to worry about mislabeling anything. I only put one marker on the back side with the words facing me so I can see what they are, but when I up pot these, I'll put a marker on each one of the pots. I decided I only want 2 of these chip-in peppers, so I just put 2 here. And then I only want 3 of the Chinese 5-color peppers because they produce really small peppers and you just don't get much for them. Even though I want them, I just don't want as many as the other peppers because I am looking to put up a year's worth of peppers this year. So I decided to plant 2 different poblano pepper varieties. These are both hybrids. I have had the best luck growing poblanos as opposed to bell peppers. I put up quite a bit of poblanos last year, but my bell peppers just got really small and they didn't do much. And so I bought the majority of my bell peppers that are in my freezer from a local farmer, which I'm totally happy to do. But my goal is to grow my own peppers. So this year in my garden, because I do struggle with sun, I think that that's probably what my issue is getting those really big bell peppers. And the smaller pepper varieties tend to do a little bit better. Complete hypothesis on my part. So that is what I decided to do with the hot peppers. So we're gonna put 2 seeds in each cell and we're gonna get these planted up. I'm gonna make a little well in each one of these cells. Oh, the chip-in peppers, there's only 10 seeds in there. So that's kind of an expensive pepper. Hopefully I get one to germinate. This is the last pepper to go in, and I was thinking, when I first started gardening, I had a really hard time, if I can open this, wanting to waste seed by putting 2 seeds in each seed cell. But what that does is seeds have different quality to them depending from seed to seed. And when you have 2, if 2 come up, you then can choose the strongest, healthiest looking plant, the one that has the best genetics. So that gives you that option. And if 0 come up, then you're not wasting space or time on your seed cell. What I'm gonna do now before I do anything else is I am going to take my hot peppers seed packs and I'm gonna put them in my hot pepper seed pack here. And now I've just organized my seeds for next year because hopefully I won't need these until 2023. I'm gonna sprinkle just the littlest amount of seed mix on the top. I'm gonna water this down, and when I have all of the seed trays filled, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do to help prevent algae growth this year. That is my biggest problem that I've had with seed starting. Well, I shouldn't say that. That is one of the problems that I've had with seed starting is algae growth. And I've done a lot of research and I have some ideas on how to prevent algae growth this year. We now are going to be planting our sweet peppers and our tomatillos and starting our tomatoes in this tray here. Let me just show you real quick what varieties we are going to be doing. So for sweet peppers, I have a few here. The first one are these Marconi peppers. These were a gift to me in my P.O. box, which is kind of funny because I also purchased some Marconi peppers from Seeds for Generations and from M.I. Gardner. I didn't realize I bought them from both, and I was gifted some. So we're gonna try these for the first time this year. These are the Seeds from Generations Marconi peppers, so we're gonna do a side-by-side comparison to see if one of those does better or not. The next pepper we're gonna do is a hybrid bell pepper. It's called King Arthur F1. The reason I wanted to try to do a hybrid this year is because I did heirloom bell peppers last year and they did terrible. So we're gonna try that and see if we can get better results. I am gonna do one variety that is a heirloom variety, and this is called King of the North pepper. It's a blocky fruit, well flavored, when picked, green to red early, and it does well in the north. Yields crisp green bells, ripens to red right up until frost. So because I don't get a massive amount of sun in my backyard, I'm trying to think that maybe my backyard is more like a northern climate. And so I'm hoping that with the name of these, because these are supposed to do better up north where it's colder and the climate isn't as conducive to peppers, I'm hoping these are going to do well for us this year. So no California Wonders this year because I've tried those 2 years in a row and they've done terrible. They're cheap seed. You can buy them. Any seed company almost has California Wonder Bells. You can buy them as starts, but I'm going to hopefully have better luck with these ones. My husband just got home and he was stoking the fire, and I was telling him that maybe one day, hint, 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 I will have a greenhouse or a potting shed and I can do this outside. So we can dream big, right? And we can lay those hints out there, huh? I know it won't happen this year, but maybe next year. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna label all of my labels before I put any seeds in the dirt. We forgot about the other plants we're gonna be planting in this seed tray, so let me tell you about those. We are gonna do a side-by-side comparison of Roma tomatoes. I have Roma tomatoes from Seeds from Generations and from M.I. Gardner. I'm sure they both are gonna do great, but I love Roma tomatoes. They've done the best for me out of any type of paste tomato. I have one more paste tomato we're gonna be trying, and I'll get to that when we get to it, but these are the two that are gonna go in this tray. I am starting a lot of tomato plants, and that is because I'm going to be trying to have enough that I can gift to my family and friends, and my neighbor has asked me for some tomato plants. My neighbor her son watches my chickens when I'm out of town, and so the least I can do is gift her some tomato plants. The next thing that we have not talked about at all, even in that seed haul, is these ground cherries. I have eaten ground cherries once in my life. They are like a tomatillo in that they have that outer paper coating, but they taste like pineapple. It is the weirdest thing. They are so good. The next three things we're gonna be planting are tomatillos. I've told you this before, one of our favorite things we put up this year is the green salsa verde. It is phenomenal, it is so good, and I only grew 2 plants last year, and we are gonna grow a lot of tomatillos this year. I try to build in a lot of buffer because I know that I am going to kill some things. It's just inevitable. And so if I start a bunch of extra things, then hopefully I'll build in that margin that I need. I love doing tasks like this where they're kind of monotonous and I can just put something on and listen to it. Today happens to be true crime, so as I'm editing this, it's kind of funny that that is what I get to re-listen to. But I just love being able to kind of focus on one task and keep repeating the same thing over and over again. These ground cherry seeds are itty bitty bitty bitty. Not going to plant those in those little holes that I just put. You're supposed to plant your seeds twice as deep as the seed itself. That's kind of a good rule of thumb to go by, according to the experts. I'm not an expert, I'm just regurgitating information that I have so read. Double check to make sure I'm planting the correct ones. Yes. We got all those tomatoes planted and peppers and salsa verde. Now we're gonna plant some of our cold winter crops. We have our cabbages, our kales, and all of the rest of the tomatoes. Olpoka. This is an heirloom variety that is a paste tomato, so I'm going to attempt to make sauce out of this one. I have 3 big old slicing tomatoes that we're going to do next. The first one is Dr. Witchy's Yellow. I grew this one last year and it was my largest tomato. It was 2.1 pounds and I was pretty proud of that tomato. This is a brand new one to me this year. This is a watermelon beefsteak tomato, and so I'm assuming it's supposed to be pretty big, and it says that it has a hint of watermelon flavor. So that'll be interesting. The first year I gardened, I grew this and I grew huge mortgage lifter tomatoes. And last year I killed my starts that I grew, and so I didn't have any that I grew last year. So I'm hoping that we don't kill our starts this year. Paul Robeson tomato, this is a new variety to me. I heard that you have to grow this tomato in your garden because the flavor is just phenomenal. It says on this that it has an amazing flavor that is distinctive, sweet, and smoky. So apparently it's got a cult following online, so I jumped on that bandwagon and I'm gonna attempt to grow it myself. The tomatoes that I had the absolute best luck with last year after my tomato debacle, where I planted them out and the next day I killed them because there was a frost, I quickly planted more tomato plants. So that's why I'm not really worried that I'm planting things too late, because I think I planted a second round of tomato plants in late March and I still had the best harvest on these next varieties of tomatoes. They are hybrid tomatoes that I got from Johnny Seeds, so that's why I really want to make sure that I plant them this year, because even with such a late start, I grew huge, beautiful tomatoes. So the first one is Martha's Washington. They're not anything special to look at. They are just a big round tomato. The next one is Wisconsin 55. Same thing, big round red tomato. The last one is Big Beef. Once again, big round red tomato. So I'm going to be growing quite a few of those because they just produced so well. And those are from Johnny Seeds, and they are expensive seeds. You only get 15 seeds in each seed packet, so honestly I don't even know how many seeds I have in them. Oh, some of them have 40 and 50. So I'll just grow literally all the seeds that I have this year. And then we're going to grow a classic beefsteak tomato from Seeds for Generations. Moneymaker from Seeds from Generations. I just bought that one because of the name. I figured if it's called Moneymaker, it's going to grow a lot of big tomatoes. And then Old German. You know, I might not grow this one. It says these are bicolor. No, I am, because it says these tomatoes are bicolor tomatoes, produce jaw-dropping size fruit. Flavor is more tomatoey than other varieties of similar color. And this means a tiny bit more acidic content, which results in a slightly longer shelf life. Still very sweet, very low acid compared to a traditional red variety. Great slicing and making yellow ketchup. I probably won't make yellow ketchup, but those are the rest of these tomatoes. These are all slicing or big old tomatoes. I am growing grape varieties, but those I'm going to be planting in the container garden series. So stay tuned for the cherry tomatoes that we're going to be growing this year. I'm taking a minute to put holes in both these trays, because that does save a lot of time if I can do the same task and just get it done. Last year I was able to grow a year's worth of tomato products for Josh and I, so I'm hoping to do the same thing this year, as long as everything goes as according to plans. We'll see. 2022's tomatoes have now been planted. Well, that's not true. I guess we have our container garden series that we're going to be planting in a little bit, but all the slicing and paste tomatoes are done. So I have got a couple of other types of varieties of vegetables that we're going to be planting today. Two of them, well, it's one, but I've got from two different companies, is just Utah tall celery. Very classic type of celery. It's what I've grown the last 2 years, and it's done really well. I did not harvest my celery last year. I had so much celery that I grew the year before still preserved up that I don't know why, I never got to harvesting it, and it went to compost and it was fine. But this year we are going to be harvesting celery. I've got 6 different varieties of cabbage we are going to be planting this year. I have one is a Chinese cabbage, and it's a 45-day to harvest cabbage, which is crazy fast. 48 days. And it's called Hybrid Chinese Cabbage F1, and it's from Johnny Seeds. The next is Primo Cabbage, which is a wrinkly style cabbage, and I'm excited for this. This is a 73-day to maturity cabbage. I love cabbage, and my cabbage did terrible last year. The year before it did fantastic, so I'm hoping for a better harvest this year on cabbage. I have 3 varieties of green cabbage, and they mature at different days. Hybrid Fresh Market Cabbage Ferraro matures in 65 days. Certified Organic Hybrid Fresh, Famasio cabbage matures in 81 days. And my storage cabbage is called Storage Number 4, and it matures in 95 days. And that is awesome that it matures later, so that I can harvest it and I can store it in my second refrigerator for a long period of time. I had cabbage that I harvested last year that wasn't a storage variety that stayed in my refrigerator for 3 months fresh before it started showing any signs of damage on the outside leaves. And then all I had to do was take those outside leaves off and I could eat them. So with my cabbages, the reason I have so many cabbages here is my goal is to try to extend my cabbage harvest season with only having to plant cabbage one time. I have not had good luck with doing fall gardening where I start seeds indoors in the summer and then harvest that stuff in the fall. Of course, I'm going to attempt it again this year, but if it doesn't work out, then I'm hoping that this strategy is going to work for me, where I can have the same type of produce that is going to mature at different dates so that I can extend that harvest. I love cabbage. Josh loves cabbage. I hope our cabbage does well this year. Enough on cabbage. All right, we have 2 varieties of, and our last cabbage is another 98 day to maturity. This is a red storage cabbage, and this is called Buscaroro, and that is the name of it right there. And we are going to hopefully be enjoying some red cabbage this fall. The next thing we are going to be planting is a broccoli rabe. I'm not going to try to attempt to grow whole head broccoli this year because I have not had good luck with that. And then the other variety of produce that we're going to be growing, this is kind of just for fun. This is an Asian style, kind of like broccoli rabe. It's an Asian green, and you eat it once it flowers like that. So I'm excited to give this a try. This is supposed to mature in 50 days, so this is hopefully something we're going to be eating really soon in the garden, and then we'll be able to plant like a succession of carrots after. Once I harvest this broccoli, we'll be able to plant something in its place, and we'll be able to get 2 harvests from that area in the garden. I have 4 varieties of kale. We have our blue curled kale, our dinosaur kale, our red Russian kale, and our scarlet kale. Love kale. I grow kale for Josh and I. I love to freeze it. I love to freeze dry it and turn it into powder. I love this, and my chickens love kale. It is probably one of their favorite things. The last 2 things we're going to be planting tonight are 2 hybrid varieties of cauliflower. One of them matures in 65 days and the other one matures in 85 days. So I did not quite fill enough trays to get all of this stuff done that we needed to get done tonight. So I had to make up some more mix and fill 1 more tray. My goodness, look at the progress we have here. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of seeds planted right now, and I could not be more excited. So what we need to do next is we need to do the things that are going to help prevent algae growth. Algae does not necessarily kill your plants, but it can compete for the nutrients. Right now, this soil is sterile. There's no organic material, there's no fertilizer or anything in it because the seeds to germinate don't need anything except for what's already in the seed to germinate. But I will be fertilizing these in about 2 weeks, starting in about 2 weeks. One of the secret weapons we're going to use to prevent algae is cinnamon. Never done this before. I just went to Walmart and bought the cheapest cinnamon I could find. I wasn't about to use my expensive cinnamon on this project. I think this whole container was $1.09. And what we're gonna do is sprinkle, probably too much. Sprinkle cinnamon on the top of our seed starts. I don't know how much exactly to do. Smells good. I've seen this on a couple different people's pages, so I figured I'm going to give it a try this year. Maybe the next seeds we're going to be starting, the next bulk seeds I should say we're going to be starting are the flowers and herbs. And maybe I won't put the cinnamon on those and we can do a side-by-side comparison. The next seeds we're going to be starting are tonight actually. We're going to be doing the seed, we're going to start the patio collection seeds. So I'm pretty happy about that. That'll be good to get that going as well because we've got some tomato plants in there. Our second line of defense to prevent algae is going to be this vermiculite. I can link this down below. This is supposed to help with moisture retention and algae. This is really fine. I wanted to make sure I found something that was really ground up, really small, so that it wouldn't inhibit our seed germination. So all I'm going to do is take this vermiculite and sprinkle this on the top. I'm doing it high up because it's like when you salt your food. You want to salt your food from higher elevation so that you get a more even sprinkling. You know what? I wasn't going to put this on my celery seeds, so I hope I didn't already put this on my celery seeds. Because they are so small, I did not. Wait, where are my celery seeds? I already did, so, oh well. Celery seeds are so small. I didn't want to have this inhibit the germination on that, but oh well. Oh. Here are all the seedlings tucked away and ready to go. About 90% or even way higher percentage of that, I'm just making that number up, of seeds do not need light to germinate. But from the research I've done is as soon as they germinate, even within a few hours, you want light on those seedlings. It's going to create a much stronger seedling. So even though these are just germinating, I have my lights, and I'm going to have my lights on 24 hours a day until these seeds germinate for about the first 4 days or 5 days. And then I'm going to set them on a timer, and I'm going to have them on 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And I might adjust that depending on more research, but for now, we have everything tucked away, ready to go for bed. These are my heat mats. When I got them, I did not realize how big they are. So this is probably not the ideal setup for them because they are big enough to hold at least 5 of these trays. So I'm not getting the maximum use out of them on this setup here, but it's going to do for today because I don't have anywhere else where I can put a light right above my seedlings. It's going to make a massive difference in how fast my seedlings germinate. We heat our house with a wood stove, and so our house generally is pretty chilly in the winter, about 65, 62 degrees. And I need these peppers and tomatoes at about 80 degrees. My onions are the ones that need to be the coolest at about 75 degrees. So even the onions that need a cool temperature, my house is not warm enough for them to germinate. These are my new high-powered grow lights that I just got this year. I also have some that I got off Amazon, and I can link my more affordable ones that I got last year on Amazon and these high-powered ones. Obviously, this is my first year using them, so I'm not exactly sure how they're going to perform. We are going to see together, and I have really good faith that these are going to do really well. It is the next day, and I need to give you an update on my seed starting. So I did not realize that I'm missing a piece with my heat mats. I forgot to order it. There is a thermometer that goes along with my heat mats. I am having that overnighted, but because they are in Georgia, I probably won't get it for 2 days. But I took the temperature of my different soils to make sure I'm in the safe range. What can happen is if your seedlings are too hot, then it can either kill the seed or it can damage the seedling once they germinate. Seedlings will get leggy. They'll get really long for 2 reasons. Either 1, there's not enough light and they're reaching to reach up for the light, or 2, it's too warm and they're trying to get away from the warmth. Now, I did take with my meat thermometer the temperature of the soil. I went through and I took temperatures of about 5 different areas, and nowhere was it higher than 81 degrees. That was the highest temperature, but some of the areas it's about 79 degrees. That is better than my ambient temperature in my house. My ambient temperature in my house is about 62. I'm not worried anymore that I'm burning or killing my seedlings, but I do want these heat mats at about 85 degrees, and I want to make sure that it's controlled at that temperature. Don't forget to check out the description box of this video because I'm going to link where I bought all my seeds. I'm going to link these heat mats, the lights, everything that you need to get started on starting seeds. Even though I am so new to this, I hope you found this video valuable. We're in it together, we're learning together, and I hope you seeing my fumbles will help you not have to make the same fumbles as me, or just to be encouraged that it's okay if we don't know everything. We're just going to dive in, we're going to get it done, and we're just going to try to do it together. Even a little progress is better than no progress, so if you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you know anyone that would enjoy it, please consider sharing it with them. If you're new, I hope you'd subscribe to stick around to see what these seedlings hopefully are going to look like and how they're going to grow in the garden. If you want to see what my garden looked like last year, I'll put a garden video up here, and if you want to see me cooking with my garden produce, I'll put a video down here. Thank you once again for taking time out of your day to spend time with me, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye guys!